We're going to go through the Microsoft Data Fabric in action, real-world success, and future trends. Welcome to the exciting event brought to you by Pronix in collaboration with Microsoft. Today we'll be delving into Microsoft's Data Fabric, an advanced unified data management solution designed to streamline data strategies and unlock insights for organizations across industries. Pronix and Microsoft share a commitment to harnessing data's full potential, providing solutions that address challenges such as data silos, scalability, regulatory compliance. And today we're going to discuss the fundamentals of Data Fabric and explore real-world use cases, share some insights into the future of data management. I'm Rick Bushnell. I'm coming to you from Philadelphia, close to the Pronix corporate headquarters in Princeton. One of the benefits of LinkedIn Live events is you can learn all about the panelists with just one click. So give me just a brief moment to introduce each of our panelists. Arun with Microsoft is a leading expert in Microsoft Data Fabric with a focus on data strategy and innovation. Thanks for joining us, Arun. Vinod is a visionary and transformative leader in digital strategy and data, advancing data-driven AI and ML solutions across global enterprises. Thanks for joining us, Vinod. And Chris, who is at Baker Tilly, a global accounting and advisory firm where he is the director of data solutions. But I'm jealous of a few of his other titles, including Data God, Analytics Rebel, Power BI Boss, and a White Rabbit. So thanks, gentlemen, all for joining us today. Let's dive into some of the most pressing questions surrounding Microsoft's Data Fabric. First, let's ensure we have a common understanding of Data Fabric. Arun, can you provide a fundamental overview of Microsoft's Data Fabric and its unique value as unified data management solution?
I'll give you a brief historical context and an overview. First of all, Microsoft is a unique cloud company in the sense that it's a three cloud company. We have the modern work, we have the BizApp, a Dynamic 365, and then Azure. So Microsoft Fabric falls into that Azure cloud. So being comprehensive is kind of in the DNA of Microsoft, that Microsoft is the comprehensive cloud. And about 4 years ago, Microsoft announced this idea of Microsoft Intelligent Data. It was not a product. It was an idea that, to solve the challenge that most companies try to kind of piece together, product from different vendors to build their analytics solution. And what that, Intelligent Data Fabric were trying to do was that, if you use all of them, since Microsoft is the comprehensive cloud, we have solution for everything, databases, analytics, data ingestion. So if you use all of the Microsoft products, that would kind of, have a seamless integration, and you can have that end-to-end analytics within the Microsoft Azure, which is like, it's a good idea, but still each pieces of the solution were still its own independent product. There were too many moving parts, and there were a lot of questions on how do I optimize for performance, how do I optimize for cost. So we had workshops on each of the product, how to do that optimization. So Microsoft Fabric is the next evolution of that, where it's a completely rebranded product which lives on the Power BI tenant, but it's a completely new product, completely SaaS-based, with all of the things that you need for analytics, starting from ingestion to storage and data science, data warehouse, data lake, real-time streaming, everything in one product with all of the solutions pre-built. And it gives you three main benefits. Number one, because of that unified SaaS offering, you have, all the solutions are pre-built and everything is configured, all the best practices are implemented. So it minimizes your configurability and maintenance hack, right? And secondly, it simplifies your billing too. So all of your all of that, stack of your analytics suite of product is under one single pricing, which is your Fabric capacity, right? So the Fabric capacity shares all the cost, all the compute, and all the storage, everything is under one billing. And finally, it's built for business users. So there are not too many moving parts. All the best practices are implemented. On top of that, there are a lot of low code, no code solutions in it. So business users can kind of self-serve their analytics without needing much help from the IT team. So, it's a long-winded answer, but since we are starting the call, I thought I would give a brief overview of, how we got here and not just what Fabric does.
Yeah,
I want to build on what Arun said there. I like to think of Fabric, and this is not exactly right, but I like to think of Fabric as the operating system of data at Microsoft. And on top of that operating system, you can run Power BI, you can run your data engineering, you can run your data science, you can run any programs you want on top of it, but it's highly optimized and all managed internally by Microsoft so that people get a great response, a great experience. And that's true for your low code business developer, and it's also true for your pro code hardcore data engineers.
Absolutely. Yep.
Vinod?
No, go ahead. I completely agree with Arun and Chris. It's definitely a unified data platform. So it can integrate with hybrid cloud, multi-cloud, poly-cloud, file shares, data lakes, everything, right? So it's definitely unlimited. It has an unlimited scale without having to physically move the data. That's the beauty of it, right?
Excellent. Good. Thanks a lot. I think that does provide a great foundation for everybody. So let's talk a little bit about industry applications. Vinod, could you share some specific industry applications where data fabric has significantly impacted an organizational outcome?
Definitely. See, I'll share what I can recall. I have interacted with several leaders in the past few months, listened to executives from various organizations in webinars and events and stuff like that. And I read success stories myself about Fabric. I'll share some of them. It will take the whole day to talk about all the success stories. I'll share like a handful of them just for our audience here. So Microsoft themselves have implemented something for their finance data and experience division. They used to take like hours and hours. I think their complex reports were taking up to 8 hours to produce them on a daily basis, I believe. After implementing Fabric, I see like they cut down to a couple of hours now, and their operational costs have come down by 50% as well, is what I learned. So that's the one number. And they are now trying to extend it to 50 other solutions in their organization, which is all looks very promising. I can talk about some consulting companies like EPAM, who is known for supporting Microsoft Cloud for their healthcare clients. They have implemented the Fabric for healthcare data. They have clearly seen a ton of benefits. I also see, based on my learnings, organizations especially that are Microsoft-centric, Azure-centric, they can adopt into Fabric more seamlessly, right? They can concise the data to their AI models and that, and at the same time integrate with Purview for security and compliance as well. I have seen some insurance companies implementing, like airports, large airports in the world have started using Fabric. Airlines have started using Fabrics. Millman is one insurance company that I can think of. They have implemented for their life insurance models to train the data. They generate like vast amounts of data for their future scenarios. So after implementing Fabric, they were able to consolidate all of the data under one platform. Now, after implementing this, they say their organization focuses more on core innovations and advancing their risk models and stuff like that, right? So previously they used to spend a lot of time on the technological aspects of pulling the data, compiling and all of that. Now that has dramatically changed is what I understood. Avanade is another consulting firm. They have equipped their thousands of their employees actually to understand Fabric, to implement Fabric for their customers to become AI ready. So I can, like I said, I can talk for the whole day about some of the examples, but I'll stop there. Hope that's helpful.
Excellent. Well, I appreciate it. Chris, any examples that you want to share that you all have been working with?
Well, I've been finding a lot of companies who are needing to integrate real-time data with the more classical structured data models for their analytics and reporting are really loving Fabric because it's all one unified platform. It's really easy through the Event Hub to be able to like stream data in, bring that data into your architecture. The architecture I just saw was called the Godfather architecture, which has your classic streaming data, or has your streaming data, has your classical like medallion architecture, but blends it all seamlessly so that you in effect transform from like, hey, I do batch loads on a daily basis to I've got live data across all of my analytics, and that's transformative for your analysts, for your data scientists, because they're all running off the exact same data and it's just streaming right in. It's great.
Nice. Thank you. Arun, any favorites that you've seen at Microsoft that we haven't touched on yet?
No, I think, Vinod and Chris, they touched on everything. I just wanted to mention that, customers.microsoft.com, that's our public website for all of our customer success stories. So if you go there, there is a way to browse by different technology. So if you select Microsoft Fabric, all of the customer stories are kind of shared there.
Nice. Thank you. So maybe let's talk a little bit about the challenges to adoption. Chris, kind of you're sitting inside of an organization as a practitioner. Data silos remain a challenge. How does Microsoft Data Fabric help eliminate these silos across various data sources?
Well, that's a great question. And honestly, it comes down to the open architecture that Microsoft is following, built off of Delta files, built off of OneLake, where you have one copy of your data and you're able to share that out broadly and dynamically. And then, so like I, as a data owner, can run and I can manage it in the service. I no longer have to now go out and populate SQL servers or send the stuff out into all these different places, right? Because when I was doing this, it was just creating a load and workforce that I have to now manage, and like we just create all these discrepancies. Having one copy of that data that I own, I manage, and I control, I can ensure that it gets published out and people are using that central source of truth. I don't have to worry about that rat's nest of data that's out there. That makes it so easy for me to take down those siloed walls, that I used to put up to prevent that rat's nest, right? That was why that wall was there, right? The reason the wall was there is like I can't manage it all. But now that I don't have to manage it all, I just manage one thing. It becomes so easy to willfully take that wall down, willfully expose it to other people, and know that I'm not creating chaos and issues for other people to offer it up. I just basically become a product as a service, where I now manage that data as a product, and I include SLAs, I include all of the stuff that we talk about as a product. It becomes really easy to do with Microsoft Fabric.
Nice.
Yep.
Arun, anything else that you would add in there that you've seen?
Microsoft Fabric, Microsoft has this initiative of being multi-cloud, right? Multi-cloud and hybrid is kind of the way, right? So all of the Microsoft products are kind of built knowing that customers need this, right? And Microsoft Fabric has features like mirroring, and you can it's designed to be multi-cloud. That you can have your stuff in AWS somewhere, but you can mirror it. You could have shortcut, right? Using features like shortcut and mirroring, you can basically have your data anywhere, but still operate it within Microsoft Fabric, right?
Hang on, Arun. Explain what shortcutting is to people. This is awesome.
Yeah, sure. So if you have worked in any databases, you might be familiar with like external table, right? So where data lives somewhere else, but you create a schema within your database and you run it as if it's part of your database, but it gets executed on the remote data store. So shortcut is that feature in Microsoft Fabric, that you create a shortcut, you give it a data source. It could be on another cloud, it could be even on-prem, and as long as it's connected through the VNet gateway, your networking setup is there, then within Fabric, it kind of appears as a Delta table to you, or a file. It looks like it's within Microsoft Fabric, even though it lives somewhere else, and you could operate on it as if it's within your one leg.
Why? And here's the big thing. Why is that so much better than an external table?
Because it's not just table. It works on raw data. Like you could have a CSV file, right?
Yep.
You could have like a Parquet file. So it works on any type of data. And like the new feature that we are adding, that everything is kind of in a Delta format, right? So Fabric OneLake is built on that Delta format, and now there is Iceberg that's coming, right? So now there is support for Iceberg is coming. So that's kind of how it's built, that no matter what the data format is, you can point to it from within Microsoft Fabric and use Fabric as your compute to work against data in any format, anywhere.
And that's the key. That's the key that I want to hit in on. It's you're bringing your compute versus, okay, I'm trying to execute my query in my store, and I'm going to hit 3 different external tables. And the 3 different external tables are running against, okay, so one's going to Snowflake, and one's going to a SQL server someplace, and one's going to someplace else. And now I have to wait for all those other places to respond.
Right.
That's chaos. Like that just doesn't perform. It doesn't scale. But because I'm now using I'm going to that raw data in a Delta file, it's my compute that I'm running and executing against. And I'm not trying to worry about like, okay, my compute's going to cache some of the data. I've got to wait for these other things to. That's a nightmare. I mean, when it works, great. Congratulations. But when it doesn't work, and it doesn't work a lot, right? You have lots of problems with that. Sure. This makes it so much nicer and so much easier to do that. Oh, yeah, Arun, you're spot on. Sorry, keep going. Keep talking. My bad.
That's good. No worries. Thanks. I love the passion. So let's contrast. Since we're kind of in there, let's contrast data fabric and data mesh. So Arun, with data mesh also gaining popularity, how does data fabric differ from data mesh, and when might an organization choose one over the other?
I mean, I would like to rephrase that, because it's not really one over the other. Like data mesh is not a separate product or something different, right? Data mesh is a data architecture. The idea behind data mesh is that, traditionally, most organizations operate as there is an IT team that handles all the data engineering, and every business team is dependent on that central IT team to provide them the data in the way they need for them to do their work, right? So the data mesh is an idea that the business entity, the line of business, they are going to own their part of the data. So they would have their own developer who would do their work. So they're not dependent on this central IT team, okay? So within Microsoft Fabric, there is a feature called domains. With domains, it's a logical entity that you can assign to a line of business, so that line of business can own that domain, and using that domain, they can have whatever Fabric asset that they need, and they completely govern it on their own without relying on any central body. So you can have data mesh architecture implemented in Microsoft Fabric using domains.
Yeah. See, like domain, basically Fabric and mesh, like one is centralized architecture, the other one is a decentralized architecture. So they can complement each other to an extent. Which one a given organization to implement, it depends on their own business cases, their own requirements, right? Like there may be some finance department and marketing department, sales department creating their own data meshes, but when it comes to data analytics, you pull all of them together into a central place, which is Fabric. I mean, just to add what Arun
I
said.
think that's helpful as a metaphor.
I'm gonna toss this out there. I want to hear what
Sure.
Arun and Vinrod has to say about this. I think every company has always been running with a data mesh architecture, but we had no way to manage or see it or even conceive of it until we got these modern data tools like Fabric. Now we start to bring out of the shadows and out of the darkness all of the mesh that's already been occurring, and now we bring it into one place that we can manage and work with it. Am I wrong? Am I off base here?
No, you are spot on.
Absolutely. I mean, just the terminology came later, like that way of operation was always there.
Yeah.
That's helpful.
In a way, actually, Fabric is solving the data mesh problem, right? Like you have a lot of data silos spread across the organization. The idea here is to pull all of them together for a given context and provide analytics out of the Fabric platform.
Excellent. Thank you. So let's talk about future readiness. Vinod, looking forward, what are the trends in data management that Microsoft Fabric is poised to support, would you say?
Yeah, another great question here, Rick. I know like Arun and Chris kind of mentioned this a little bit. See, business users and decision makers are always hungry for data, right? Not just the data, but the real-time data. Like as a general tendency for humans, everybody wants to get latest and greatest insights, right? Of anything. So Fabric has this real-time intelligence and real-time hub, which is becoming increasingly critical for organization to take advantage of. Take route optimizations from transportation, like transportations and logistics, grid monitoring from energy and utilities, predictive maintenance from manufacturing or industrial cleaning, inventory management from retail. So all these aspects can benefit from these real-time processing capabilities, right? I have to talk about BFSI as I belong to financial industry. For most part of my career is in financial industry. So there you have like real-time risk management, real-time analytics, real-time fraud detection. These are all the things that they are looking for. And really Data Fabric comes handy to support all of it. Right? They pull the data from, they pull market data, customer data, customer interactions, transactions, you name it, right? Social media, news feeds. All of these things can be pulled together into Fabric. So that the business can take proactive measures to mitigate any risks. They can do market analysis with real-time data, which will make them informed decisions and stay ahead of the competition and stuff like that, right? So that's one aspect that I can think of when it comes to trending. And the other thing is like AI and machine learning, which is also a trend. Like everybody is talking. Every other person that you bump into, they talk about AI and ML these days, or Gen AI, agentic AI and stuff like that. So Microsoft Fabric is deepening its integration with AI and ML, right? I'm sure you guys agree with this for all advanced analytics, predictive modeling. So it's easy to ingest or feed the data, train the data, and test the data using the standard models like linear regression, logistic regression. You talk about random forest, decision trees, even like a time series models like ARIMA and all of that, right? So those who are in AI space, they understand this much better. And also like Azure itself has this AI search and applications, chatbot applications, AI services. So it becomes seamless for these other services to integrate with Fabric. I think that's also a trend that I'm seeing. Everything getting co-located, taking advantage of each of these components is becoming a trend these days. The other aspect there are two other aspects that I want to talk about. One is data democratization. I think somebody was talking about it early on. It gives there are low code, no code capabilities in the platform. It helps these power users or non-technical users. Now these days I hear this terminology, citizen analyst and citizen developers, right?
Right.
These people will be self-sufficient to pull this data and generate the analytics out of the data, gain insights and stuff. So that, and it will basically reduce the dependency on IT teams. They can be self-sufficient to a greater extent. The other big challenge that I see is every time somebody talks about AI, the next question is governance, the security, right?
Sure.
These are the common things that you think that you always hear about. I think Arun was talking about purview, I think, right? Compliance and security early on. So there is another tool called Purview, which is basically a great product to integrate with Fabric. It provides the governance capabilities, compliance capabilities, security capabilities, audit capabilities. It has built-in data masking and data loss prevention, so data anonymization, you name it, right? So it's basically a combination of these two products will make it much more comprehensive for organizations to implement their data analytics. So that's my 2 cents on the topic. That makes sense.
I like it. Chris, anything for kind of future readiness that comes to your mind that we didn't touch on yet?
Well, and honestly, yeah, because we're talking about an open source backend platform running on Delta files, that means whatever tooling we're talking about using down the road, be it Copilot or, I don't know, the new Strawberry Shortcake Deluxe app, that software that comes out, as long as Strawberry Shortcake Deluxe runs on Delta files, you don't have to restructure or rebuild any of your data to start to run and operate there. I mean, this just foundationally makes us set up to run and run efficiently because of that.
Comforting. Cool. Arun, anything else that you wanted to add in that you get to kind of have some awareness of where you all are going in the future that we didn't touch on?
Yeah, I think Chris hit on it in the beginning, that Microsoft Fabric is now becoming the operating system of data, right? And being an operating system, this is something that Microsoft does well, is that take anything and turn it into a development platform. So Microsoft Fabric is now becoming that development platform where, partners like, Chris's company or Vinod's company or Pronix, they can now start building stuff on Fabric. So there is that feature called Microsoft Fabric Workload Development Kit. On top of that, there is Fabric REST APIs, and there are ways to kind of tap into the things under the hood of Fabric and build your own data product in your own way and have it run on top of Microsoft Fabric. That's the direction that Fabric is going in the next phase.
Good. Excellent. Let's come back to data democratization for a second. And Chris, you had kind of hinted at it earlier, as Vinod mentioned. How does Data Fabric enable data democratization across different departments within an organization?
Well, thank you so much for asking about this, because I truly believe that the only people who really know how to work with data are the people who create and manage that data, right? When you create that abstraction layer of IT, who knows technically how these functions work, they don't know the data. They can't look and say, yeah, we have 75 stores, or 75 million stores. They just don't know, right? They just can't look
Right.
at it and know what makes sense or not, right? Because that's not what they do for a living. But people in the business, people that are actively working with data, they know what this stuff means and what is insightful and not. That's where a platform that allows for a low-code interface that users can go in and start to do these activities and do any activity they need to in order to work with that data, that makes it so easy for them to pick it up and run with it. And now, I hear you. I could hear the next question, but I hate what Access did to our lives, right? Like, Access destroyed people, right? Like, we've got 1,000 Access databases out there, and we've created these spread marks. We're blind to it. Well, Microsoft's no dummies, right? It ruined a whole bunch of lives there too, right? They're like, you know what? They support it, they run it, like people need it, but they built Fabric in such a way so that we run on pro code backends that's clearly visible to IT pros, to governance, to everyone inside the company can see what those low code engineers and people are doing. And they're all kind of using the same tools. So as long as you have some kind of governance patterns in place and say, hey, follow these templates, follow these processes, that individual contributor as a low code citizen engineer or citizen data engineer or citizen analytics engineer or citizen data scientist, they can go in and do whatever they need to do with data. They can do it on an enterprise grade platform, and then it's visible. So maybe it's a failure, maybe it's a bust, maybe they go in and they run with it for 30 minutes and it's crap. Well, then it dies after 30 minutes. That's awesome. How many projects have we as IT professionals been on that took 3-4 months? You get it in place and it's done and it worked. 0 people use it because the business results at the end is crap, right? You're just that's garbage. Okay, well, there was $1 million in development that just went out the window. Why not have someone who can spend 30 minutes, test it out, and figure out if it gets value, iterate on it as you're kind of bouncing, and then be able to promote that up from that person to a team, to a department, to an enterprise, right? That is the democratization that Fabric brings. And what gets me just psyched is how that can change your life. If you're watching this could change your life. If you're a leader and you're thinking about implementing this, you can change the lives of the people inside your organization by giving them a clear roadmap for how they can elevate their career down any path that they want. You just have to use it. You just have to enable it. You have to make people you have to offer this up inside your organization.
I think it's great points. It follows the kind of age-old fail forward, fail fast. To your point, I mean, everybody listening to this, I'm sure, has been middle of projects that, to your point, when man months or more, only to get to a conclusion that this isn't useful. And so, I mean, opportunity cost of all those resources is a dead minimum. But it's great, right? Because to your point, maybe somebody can do some incremental light build, validate there's value there, and then they need a little bit heavier lift coming behind them. But you already know that the value is there, so the investment is always going to pay out. So,
and holy crap, that's a great point. How long is your backlog? IT professionals, how long from the time someone puts something in your backlog before you deliver on that? And I'm not talking what your CEO says, hey, drop what you're doing and deliver on this. That stuff's always priority, and the CEOs get to decide that stuff. But for everyone else in the company, how long is that? What's that length of time? I know in many companies I've worked at and seen, it can be 18 to 36 plus months.
Sure. A lot of things.
How many ideas are useful 18 to 36 months out? If you could take 90% of those activities and you can give that to people in your business so you can work on the highest value things that your company needs, that's transformative. That's what democratization means. Sorry, I'm passionate about this. I love it.
Arun, did we miss anything? Because Vinod kind of gave a perspective. Chris shared what he's come across. Are we missing anything that you've seen?
No, I think both Chris and Vinod touched on this. So, when we talk about data democratization, we're talking about, different user to have different experience, right? So the Fabric has this thing called persona, right? So whether you are a data engineer or an analyst, so you have different persona that depending on who you are and what you need to do, you have different persona. On top of that, there is part of the governance that's built into Fabric, like endorsement. So you have data in one lake. There is a way to endorse data saying this is certified by your organization and approved for use, right? So data discoverability becomes easier. And the part of the Microsoft Purview, which is data lineage, is also included in Microsoft Fabric. And if you're looking for like the full-fledged data governance with data catalog and the data loss prevention policies and insider risk management and metadata tagging, all that, then there is Microsoft Purview is our data governance solution, and Microsoft Fabric seamlessly integrates with Purview. Plus, like the IT teams who need to do like CI/CD pipeline and do the whole DevOps, data ops. There is source control integration with Azure DevOps or GitHub, so you can build your data pipeline in a source control manner. So you can do rollback and you can trigger builds depending on a particular action. So depending on who the user is, whether it's a business user who needs just pro code, who really needs that CI/CD pipeline to automate everything. So Fabric has everything for everyone, and it all works in a governed manner and makes data discoverability easier. So yeah, I mean that's data democratization.
Still there, Rick?
Yeah, I think Rick is frozen.
This is a great conversation, by the way, guys.
Yeah, I'm enjoying this.
Oh, Rick's back. All right.
Good. Because I looked like I was moving on my screen, but I could tell from you guys I wasn't moving. Sorry, so to come back to a point I heard you make, what legacy? I might turn off my camera because I'm not sure why I'm having trouble here, but you had mentioned legacy, and many companies have legacy systems in place. How does Data Fabric integrate with these systems to streamline data processes?
Yeah, start for me. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, I'll
please.
Yeah. So I touched on two features of Microsoft Fabric. Like one was shortcut, and then there is mirroring. And then there is another feature in Microsoft Fabric called mount. Okay, so where you have something like an older part of Azure, which is Azure Data Factory, right? So if you have been doing a lot of ETL on Azure Data Factory and you're trying to move that to Microsoft Fabric, the easiest way to do that integration is there is a feature called mount. So you can have a Azure Data Factory mount within Microsoft Fabric, so you can start managing your data factory from Microsoft Fabric. So shortcut and mirroring and mount, like these are, as long as you are working on a system that supports any of these features, that's an easy way to integrate into Microsoft Fabric and start using Microsoft Fabric to manage that workload. If it's something that does not support any of these technologies, right? And these technologies are evolving over time, more and more support is going to come. But if there is something that is not supported by any of these, so you can use things like the Microsoft Fabric Workload Development Kit, the Fabric REST APIs, right? So these are controls that you have to tap into the low-level, under the hood stuff of Microsoft Fabric, and you can. So there is some custom development that will be required to integrate those legacy systems, but you have the tools available to do that integration yourself, and start using, no matter what you have, how old, how much of a legacy system it is, there is a way to integrate that into Microsoft Fabric and have a path to really modernize your data estate.
Okay, excellent. Thanks. Vinod, anything that you've experienced additionally on legacy integrations around Fabric?
Yeah, see, again, when we say legacy integration, again, it's going back to your on-prem data sources.
Okay.
Like Arun said, creating shortcuts and stuff like that. See, if you go back like 5-10 years ago, we had to deal with only the on-prem data warehouses or like file shares and stuff like that. Now, with the organization moving into cloud, you have to solve another problem, right? You have to deal with the data on the legacy platforms, the data on the cloud. So, like to me, for Fabric, even the data sources on the cloud is like legacy, right? Everything outside of the Azure platform is a legacy to me. So creating shortcuts is a great thing that we can quickly integrate the applications is what I felt.
Very good. Well, let's keep going. Vinod, I was just kind of curious, in your experience, just talking about kind of justifying it, the investment, what are some ways organizations can evaluate the ROI of Data Fabric and what outcomes should they expect?
Yeah, see, another great topic to discuss here. I think, see, when organizations come to the table to solve their problems, they should start with their, their organization goals, their strategic objectives and stuff, right? So they first have to start there and see if Fabric is a right solution for them to implement to solve their business problem. I'm sure like every organization that is out there that is data centric is going to be benefiting from ROI, but they as an organization, the leaders in the organization will have to come together and see how they can benefit from it. I can from determining the ROI, evaluating ROI before implementing is a huge challenge, right? It's not easy to do. You can do cost benefit analysis, from operational excellence standpoint, implementing a solution standpoint, new revenue generations, enhancing products and services. They can definitely do cost benefit analysis from all these aspects, but I think they have to create a comprehensive business case that outlines the expected benefits, costs, and ROI for data. And also like creating an ROI just for Data Fabric sometimes doesn't make sense, right?
Yeah.
You created you take an initiative, create an overall ROI, to cross the finish line. But I'll tell you a few things, right? Definitely from for Fabric, there are efficiency gains. Whether cost savings or productivity gains, organizations can save on time, resources by streamlining data processes and stuff, the faster decision making.
What do you mean by saving time? How is Fabric going to save me time?
What do you mean? The whole topic of Fabric is to, save time, save cost, and all that.
All right, let me explain one that I showed. We mocked up what it would take to build out a classical Synapse Analytics architecture and structure, and all of the steps needs. Okay, you've got to stand up storage, you've got to stand up data factory, you've got to stand up your endpoint, you've got to stand up your Synapse, you got to stand up, you got to stand up, you got to stand up, you got to stand up. You gotta go.
It's a 36-month effort. Yeah, that 18 to 36-month effort, right?
That's it. It's a huge effort involving all these teams, all these players, all these people having to integrate it, test it, service principles. All these things have to be brought in and stood up and get up and running, and forget about it. That's a huge thing that a lot of companies can't take on. Fabric is one service you enable, and like off to the races. Let's go. What do you like?
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
see,
helpful.
also from a governance standpoint, it's hard to put an ROI, a dollar number for
67%.
regulatory fines and the data breaches and stuff like that. But
I
definitely you
say it's
can,
67% less expensive to
yeah,
work in Fabric than to work in any other data platform in the cloud.
yeah.
No,
Is
I
that
take your bank.
I don't, yeah, I completely agree with you on that. There are some products out there, right? There are like fabrics products like out there, but uh, Microsoft Data Fabric is much more comprehensive and robust, and it
Yeah.
works very well with Azure ecosystems, right?
Mhm.
So definitely, this Fabrics is a concept that's helping the analytics platform significantly.
Mhm.
To consolidate the data, to feed the AI models, to generate the visualizations in Power BI, create semantic models. We talked about citizen developers and citizen analysts. They can create their
Right.
own semantic models in Power BI, create the visualizations and stuff. Definitely, there is a lot of return on investment. Revenue generation is happening at a 3x, 4x, 5x levels
Mhm.
in all these organizations. So we can talk about the benefits on and on. Customer satisfaction. If you carefully implement everything, right, from innovation to process improvements to operational excellence and everything, there is definitely a great deal of customer satisfaction that you are going to see over a period of time.
Excellent. I want to be mindful of your time, and I've got a couple more curiosities. So I wanted to check, Chris, with implementation, could you share some of the best practices for implementing data fabric effectively that you've kind of learned, developed?
100%. So keep it as simple as you possibly can. Don't make it more complex than you need it to be, right? So if you need 3 layers for dev test prod, great, do that. But if you just need one because you're living in, you live in prod and that's all you do today, great, do that. Number 2, watch your fabric capacity utilization. That's the biggest thing that's going to drive the success or consumption on your platform, is how happy and performant things are. You're going to be bringing a lot of things together here, so be prepared to have many capacities that you're going to be working on, but think about how having as few as necessary to deliver on the results that people are looking for, right? So
Yeah.
having one is great, but maybe 2 is better. Okay, so just be aware of that stuff. The other thing I would say, efficiency-wise, the cap, we did a deep dive research study on like what size capacity yields the happiest customers, and that's
Mhm.
at the F256 level. Okay, you go above
Yeah.
that, and you start to run into cost issues where it's not as happy. You go below that, I mean, it can be
Yeah.
okay, but when you're reaching thresholds,
Yeah.
like you need to be able to scale up to that F6 or 256, and then scale out after that. So those are the big 3 things I tell anyone when it comes to
Yeah,
like being.
I think organizations will have to subscribe to some F level, F16 or F64, in order to be able to use Power BI, if I remember
Yeah.
that correctly. But 256 looks like an optimal thing. It also depends on organization to organization now, right? There may be smaller organization that may choose pay as you go kind of a model, startups and stuff like that. If it is
Yeah.
a mid-sized organization, they can balance with reserved capacity for some of their services, some of their business use cases. For some, they can use pay as you go. But larger organizations can definitely benefit from reserved capacities, like Chris was telling.
Thanks. Hey, I know you guys need to go soon. I've got one last kind of curiosity about, and you've kind of been mentioned a number of times, data compliance. Arun, at Microsoft, as regulations evolve, how does data fabric support organizations in meeting data compliance standards?
Yeah, so purview is kind of where that data governance comes in, right? So Purview has a compliance manager, right? So if you have integrated Microsoft Purview to Microsoft Fabric, then using that compliance manager, you can create a custom compliance, control. So it has a lot of pre-built control like HIPAA, the GDPA. So some of the well-known ones are already kind of built in that you can kind of implement. And as you start using it, and Fabric kind of, that compliance manager would start suggesting that these are the compliance controls that are used within your organization and within your industry. So these are things that you should implement. So there is some suggestions that you get. And there are some pre-built compliance controls that are ready for you to implement depending on your industry. Plus, of course, you can always custom build your compliance controls.
Perfect. Well, look, we are a little past time, so I am very grateful to you all. Thank you for sharing your expertise, and to all the attendees for joining us. Today's discussion has illuminated the potential of Microsoft's data fabric as a transformative force in data management, from its ability to integrate data at scale to its role in supporting future trends. So we hope to leave you today inspired, equipped, and having some actionable insights to drive your data strategy forward. Pronix and Microsoft look forward to supporting your journey towards a data-driven success. Thank you all for attending.
Thank you.